Hey guys, it's Brian. We're in the Live Life Simple freeze drying room today because today we're doing a Harvestright Hacks Volume 4 already. I can't believe we've done 4 of these things already, but in these hacks videos, we give you some tips, we give you some stuff that will help streamline your freeze drying process and make it a little bit easier. If you haven't seen the volumes 1 through 3, I'll put a link down below so you can check those out. But today we're gonna have some brand new stuff for you. We're gonna make your freeze drying life just a little bit easier coming up. Okay, so today we have a lot of stuff to go over, so I'm going to go quickly over every product and every tip that I have. Some of the stuff you may have already seen because I use a lot of it in my videos already, so feel free to fast forward if it's not something that applies to you, but let's get right into this. So the first thing I have today is this brush, and I have scoured the internet trying to find a brush that fits in this rack that will catch both sides at the same time, but it's also long enough to go all the way back into the back. And this I found on Amazon. I bought several different brushes to figure out which one would do the best. This one is awesome. It's really inexpensive. This is a tip and a product for you, but this is gonna make your life easier. There's no question about it. And all the stuff I mentioned today, I'll put links down in the description so you can find these real easy. The next thing I want to go over is the salad shooter. It's kind of a blast from the past, from the originals in the 80s. But if you've been freeze drying for very long, you'll notice right away that you're doing cutting constantly. And the salad shooter, you can just throw all kinds of stuff in here. It dices everything evenly, and you can throw huge chunks of stuff in here, and it lays it out nice. You can kind of use this spout and direct it to wherever you want to go. This thing has been really nice for a lot of situations in freeze drying for me. The next 3 things I want to go over are things from our store. So if you haven't seen our store or been to our store, it's freezedryingsupplies.com. We're constantly trying to streamline the whole process of freeze drying from start to finish. So we're taking our products, we even improve on our own versions of products. Our latest being the stackers. We now have locking stackers that lock onto the trays. They lock the trays together a lot nicer. There's no slop in between the trays now. They're very nice and snug. And these basically just allow you to store things, whether it's in the freezer or in your refrigerator, or even just transporting these trays. It just allows you to stack them. You can stack them 10, 12, 16 high sometimes. The next things are the dividers. And the dividers we feature on almost all of our videos. We use them probably more than anything. And these are all adjustable, so you can change your portion sizes. They have a knife edge on the bottom so you can push it down through the food to really cut through the food and make a portion size. A lot of the recipe videos I do use these because I have found that these are just pretty much the handiest thing that we have. And if you want to learn more and see more about these dividers, I'll put a link to the video, a couple videos for the dividers where you can kind of see them in action, just so you can see the full scope of why these are useful. And the last shameless plug I'm going to do for our store are the lids. These are our newest product. We're super proud of these. We were the first ones out of the gate with these. We deemed them the original. And these also work with our dividers. They're stackable, so if you're storing food, you can store your leftovers in your fridge. You can go into the deep freeze with food. You're no longer going to get freezer burn. It just gives you an extra layer of protection with your food before it goes into the freeze dryer. They snap on the corners. And to me, the dividers and the lids have just been instrumental in changing the whole process of freeze drying, just getting a consistent product and getting the best quality end result when you're all through. And I'm not just saying that because we make them. And one last thing before my shameless plug is over, all of these products are made in the USA, which is something that we're very proud of. And not only are they made in the USA, they're actually all made within 100 miles of where we live, which allows us to support our small businesses. Next, I have a tip for you, and if you're around freeze drying and you're doing freeze drying constantly like I am, and you're just surrounded by freeze drying wherever you go, things just come to you, and this came to me as an idea. I want to see if it works because I really don't even know if it works, but These oxygen packets can be kind of a pain in the butt, and it seems like you're always left with 1 or 2 or just an odd number after you've done what you need to do. So what would be really cool is if you could just reseal up this bag, or how do you normally save these? I usually use a little ball jar that goes into there, but that doesn't always work. It's not 100% successful. So what I was thinking is if we can cut this open, these are only usually good for about 10 to 12 minutes after you open them, and then they're just kind of shot after that. So what if we just took our freeze dryer impulse sealer, turned up our number just a little bit higher than we normally do, and just seal this back up. And I'm gonna double seal because I kind of like to double down on this kind of stuff, but I'm gonna let this sit after we're done, and we have an indicator in there, so we'll be able to see if it worked or not. So you can see right now it's purple. Hopefully when we're done, it'll be pink. Another thing you can do to help out with this is buy these in smaller packages. We actually sell them in packs of 10. We're not the only ones who do, so if you can find a better deal, go for it. But if you can find these in a 10 pack, you're gonna end up with less waste, and you're just gonna be better off in the long run. The next thing I have is kind of to redeem myself from a previous video. I was really recommending this moisture meter, which there's nothing wrong with it. It does work. It's not perfect though, but I have found in the meantime, this tends to work better. And this is just a handheld infrared thermometer. The reason I have found this to be better than the probe type is normally you're putting your probes into the food to get the temperature. It's not a perfect science. You can get a false reading if it touches the metal. If there's not a connection between here, you'll get a false reading. Also, it's just not 100% accurate. With the thermometer, you can pull your food out during the freeze dry. You can zap it with this. It just has a little laser. It'll tell you if there's any cold spots in there, and obviously if there is a cold spot, your food is not done. This is not exactly 100%. It's a lot more reliable than the probe thermometer is, in my opinion. It's not very expensive, but as always, the best way to figure out if your food is done is your good old eyes and your sense of touch. This next one is really simple and really inexpensive. It's just a large syringe, and then I added just a length of hose on it. This is really helpful for a whole lot of things. I like to use it for oil. It allows you to pinpoint things. It allows you to reach in places that you wouldn't really be able to get to. You can also separate oil and water in your vacuum pump, but I've also found it helpful to be able to move liquid around or pull liquid out of trays or things like that. Obviously use a different one for oil and one for kitchen use. Now let's talk about one of the most annoying, if not the most annoying thing about freeze drying, in my opinion at least, is getting the food off of these trays and into where they're going to be stored without making a giant mess and spilling stuff everywhere and losing some of that food potentially. I've found many different versions of this. This one fits a large tray really well, but it's basically a French fry scoop, and it allows you to kind of get in and scrape things off the tray, and then it will funnel them and direct them into a Mylar bag. You can also buy a food funnel. That helps out with the process a lot. It holds the bag for you. It directs the food down into a big funnel. The funnel also has a large opening so your food doesn't get jammed up. That opening will also fit inside of a wide mouth ball jar, so if you're filling ball jars, it's helpful for that as well. These legs are adjustable, so if you have different size things that you're filling, you can adjust them down, and then when you're done, it comes all apart so you can store it in a smaller area so it's not taking up a bunch of room. Alright, well, I saved the best for last, the best being my new freeze drying best friend. My new freeze drying best friend, the AVID Armor. I absolutely love this thing. I don't know how I lived without it before, but if you're doing large quantities of food, which if you're freeze drying, you obviously are, it's good quality, it's best bang for your buck as far as I'm concerned for vacuum chamber sealers. It fits all the way up to a 10 by 14 bag, and anything smaller than that, there it is. I love it. It'll also do dry ingredients in a mason or a ball jar, and I could go on and on about why this thing is awesome. I have a whole separate video if you want to check it out on this AVID armor sealer, but I really love this thing. And there it is. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I went over today, a whole bunch of stuff that you can ponder to see if you can use it for your setup. This stuff has all made my life easier, so I'm sure it can make yours easier as well. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.